What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Takeover with your girl, Shima Clay here on Fubu Radio. And of course, you already know we are inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee. Now, like I said, we always come in here and talking about the state representative, but we forget to mention the state that he represents. He said it's all America, all of America, but we know it is Connecticut. So what's up, B? How you doing?
What up? What's going on, Shay? As always, it is such an honor to be right here on the Takeover, inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee, where we discuss a little bit of everything, but explicitly leadership, culture, and, you know, politics, of course, but a little bit of gossip. Every now and again, we throw it at you. But I'm glad to be back. It's another week. And I see you've been traveling.
Like always, nothing new. I feel like, you know, it's all just work. I need a vacation. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
wait a minute. Wait, hold, pause. Beep. Didn't you just come back from like the Middle East, or you were somewhere riding on camels?
Okay, that was February. In January. Okay, so that was February. Secondly, I went to Cabo in August. We are now in October. You know, you got to do these things once every two months, you know, so that's how it works. However,
friends and family, do y'all hear this?
However, speaking of that, I definitely have to get out there because they're about to start the vaccination passport soon. So, you know, like,
well, I've said it before. I don't have a Willy Wonka card. My card is legit, so I'm ready to travel. I'm good. There are some people out there, and we saw this in the news. Doctors are losing their license, their practice, because they've been signing these little fake
way.
Oh yeah. It's getting real out there. It's getting real. People got to do what they have to do. All right. I'm not shaming anybody. But when you start doing illegal stuff, it catches up with you.
Yeah, it definitely catches up. So, all right. Yeah. So we have a special guest today. I think this is a dear friend of yours, right?
Yes, he is. He's a really good friend of mine. I know a few people in high places. You know how we do.
I see. State rep. You know what I'm saying? Look. I can't wait till I be a rep of something, you know, radio rep.
Hey,
listen.
You can run for office in Atlanta, Georgia. Y'all got a highly contested mayoral race there, but we'll talk about that. Maybe we can invite them onto our show to talk.
I definitely believe Mr. Kasim is gonna take the votes again, and it's gonna be crazy. It's so funny because we laughed about this yesterday, and it's like them water boys, they better get ready to make it to cut him a check. Look, he gonna be like, I need you to register this, and I need a percentage. You know,
right?
No, for real.
No, I'm here for it. But as always, I mean, we've got a show lined up today, and we want to talk a little bit about, you know, the first, you know, we always talk about the first this, the first that. Oh, and by the way, happy Hispanic Heritage Month. We had former state representative from Connecticut, Chris Soto, who's now with the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, on our show a few weeks ago. And, you know, he's doing a great work, but I also want to recognize, you know, we're celebrating all of our Latino, Latinx, Hispanic, hermanos and hermanas, you know, sisters and brothers across this country. So
well, let's also acknowledge breast cancer awareness as well. It's the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, as well as, from what I heard yesterday, is the also, I guess, Women in Business, Black Women in Business Month, Awareness Month.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. How do they determine the months?
You know what? Maybe we can ask our special guest who could help us with that.
Good point.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the first, right? And this person that you're going to introduce is the first in this particular position here in the state of Connecticut. I also want to talk a little bit about, you know, what's been happening with some negotiations down in DC, or depending on where you're from, up or over, but in our nation's capital. And then, you know how we do, we'll end off with something real nice, but I'm really excited about this particular guest who we have inside the room today.
Yeah, it's funny that you said this about the first. It's funny that we are even still here at 2021 speaking of the first African American to XYZ or whatever it is. By now
Yeah.
we should be well rounded with everyone having or had the ability to hold power somewhere, whether or not you were black or African American or whatever you define yourself, however you want to do it, but or
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic or whatever. So we are still here. So
Yeah.
maybe he can give us some insight into this too. And how does it feel, especially being acknowledged that I know if I was the first black woman of something, I don't know how I would feel be called that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure. I don't know. It's
Well,
just
you
me,
are.
maybe.
You're the first black woman of, who's running her own show, The Takeover. Come on now. Let's
You
get
know.
with it.
But with that being
Let's
said, you guys make sure you keep it locked and tell a friend to download that Fubu Radio app because we are inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee, and we will be blessed with Mr. Paul Mons. All right, so you guys keep it locked. Don't go nowhere. It's the takeover.
Oh, mounds.
Mounds, like
You got it.
a mound.
Like a mound. Y'all keep it locked. Don't go nowhere.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Takeover with your girl, Shay McCray. And of course, we are inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee. And he always brings an amazing guest with him. And this one, I am so happy to have on the show because he is not only the first African-American chief of staff in the state of Connecticut history, but he also does a lot of things, for just leading us in so many other great directions. And of course, you can go ahead and introduce him a little bit more because this is your dear friend. I always like when you do it a little bit more passionately than me because I just go from the politics of what is stated on the paper.
You're good. Listen, honestly, right now, of all of the many titles that I've been able to witness with Paul, serving as the first African-American, first black as the chief of staff here in the state of Connecticut is monumental. It's a milestone, historic. And he hates it in terms of every time I highlight that, but every chance I get, and especially as we celebrate Black leaders, I will always make sure my children and other children know the impact this man has had on the state of Connecticut and even people across this country. So he's also served as Connecticut's first chief operating officer. So he's accomplished quite a bit.
First black chief of it again? Or no? First...
Yeah, well, he's the first of its kind in that particular role, and he's the first black. So he's got first all over. Well-educated, a graduate of Trinity College right here in the city of Hartford, which is an Ivy League private college, and former football player, you name it. But I want him to talk a little bit about his work, who he is, and let's just jump right on in.
All right, so let's welcome to the takeover, Mr. Paul Mounds Jr. I said that right, Mounds.
Yeah, yes, you did. Just like the candy bar. Just like the candy bar. Just like the candy bar. Jay and State Representative McGee, thanks for having me on. Greetings from the Connecticut State Capitol. Pleasure to be here, and I'll just tell a little bit about myself. I'm born in Hartford, Connecticut, raised in East Hartford. Was always interested in public service. I used to watch town council meetings with my family so we can get my father and my mother always used to say, if you want to change the community you're in, you need to know what's going on in your community. So from a very young age, every second and fourth Tuesday, we will watch town council meetings and we will talk about what is being discussed and what's going on in town. And whenever we went out and about, we were able to point to and say, oh yeah, we saw that in the meeting, we saw that talked about, and it really got my interest. The other thing that got my interest in government, as crazy as this sounds, I used to go to the Raymond Library in East Hartford, and I loved the game SimCity. I loved building my own city. I loved being my own manager, my own mayor, and then learning the intricacies of that game at a young age. And I just got very enthralled with government as a whole. And that led eventually to my path to Trinity College. And then eventually my first job out of college was working for U.S. Congressman John Larson. I eventually became his communications director, eventually then worked for Senator Richard Blumenthal United States Senator, as his deputy state director, one of the youngest to be a deputy state director in an office. And then I decided that I wanted to go to state government and leave the congressional side, and started my path as a policy analyst, and eventually became the government relations director and policy director for previous governor of Connecticut, Dannel Malloy. And I was asked back into government as the first chief operating officer in the state's history. And then 8 days before the start of the coronavirus in Connecticut, I became the chief of staff here in Connecticut.
Wow, that's
And I mean,
awesome.
Shay, he makes it seem like, you can just apply for these positions, which some of them you can. A lot of it has to do with relationships and his ability to remain relevant and understand government. And so it just says a lot about who you are. But I kind of want to kick off this little Q&A, if you would. How does it feel to be that Black person in a position where you are making some heavy decisions? And how many other Black folk serve in the same role as you across this country?
Yeah, I'll start with the last question. I'm the only male across the country
Wow.
to be a chief of staff, a Black chief of staff.
Wow.
I have a colleague in North Carolina who's the chief of staff for Governor Cooper. And then we have colleagues in the U.S. territories who are of color. There's not many of us. So it's a small fraternity and sorority of us, and we heavily lean on each other for support, for guidance. And the other thing is, when you are the first, you have this pressure because you don't want to be the last. You want to make sure when you're the first that when people point and say, who's the type of chief of staff that we want, I want them to have my name to come first and foremost. Thus, it will open up a door for another person of color to be in that role. So no, it's hard when you're the first. The pressures are not only of the job, but it's also of your mental psyche of how best can you do this job with the pressure of the job and the pressure of everything else of what it means to be a person of color, and bring that about to ensure that when you eventually leave this job, that the next person or the person after that person looks like you from your same background, because that means that's be the greatest humbling moment, that I know that another person of color will be able to sit in this seat long after I'm gone.
When you saw the opportunity that the position would be opening up, and you knew that there was no other person of color in this position, what was the first thoughts that ran through your mind when you did say, hey, I'm gonna continue and do it and go for it?
Well, here's the interesting thing, Shay. I never really threw my name forward. And I think that's a classic mistake that us people of color make. When a position becomes open, we want to be drafted. Just think about that. We want to be drafted.
Oh my goodness, great point. You are absolutely right.
We are not the ones advocating for ourselves.
Nope.
We'll advocate for others, but we won't advocate for ourselves. We want to be drafted. We want to be anointed. And truthfully, that's similar with me. The individual who was in this role previously was moving on, and I waited. And I was just like, I don't know, well, we'll see who can be in this role. And then I got asked. I think in retrospect, I think I probably would have been a little more proactive on that front. But I think that's also things that we face and deal with as people of color.
Do you feel like it's more deserving when we don't ask for it versus when we're nominated?
I think it's extremely humbling, and it shows that your work product, and what you have done, has earned you the ability to be in that job and that opportunity.
I don't know.
I think the one thing I would say overall is because I previously worked in a governor's office, the good thing that I had in all my years is that I was able to take a little of something from each chief of staff I worked with to become my own style and my own way of doing this position.
Love it.
I guess what I was gonna say, and I wanted y'all to finish, your conversation. I don't know. I'm torn between lobbying for yourself and being sort of anointed or blessed, right? Yeah. It's like, if you don't talk and if you don't explain to people why or I am qualified, it's almost like you're always overlooked. And then we go back to our tribes and we're complaining, why they don't never choose us, I's important. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, folks.
I know what you mean.
Like, no, I'm talking about folks who listening. And so, just understanding like the importance of lobbying for yourself. So I'm really happy, Paul, that you said in retrospect, if you had a chance to do it all over again, you probably would have said, hey, Mr. Governor, I can fit that bill, and here's why. You still had to explain once you were, chosen. You had to, have
it's
that
so funny that you say that, because I remember when Obama was president, we were so excited about him being president, we forgot to groom the next one to come right behind him.
And I'm happy you brought that up. I think one of my first jobs when I got asked to be the chief operating officer was to build the administration. And I give a lot of credit to Governor Lamont for this. He looked at me and said, I want the most diverse administration that is reflective of the state of Connecticut.
Yeah,
that's ever been seen.
That. Yeah. Yeah.
The person who runs our budget in the state of Connecticut is an African American.
Black woman. That's right.
The woman who transformed the Department of Motor Vehicles, where now you can do almost anything online. You don't have to get in a line, Shay, here in Connecticut. You can go online, do everything you need to do. It was done by a Black woman who was a former IT executive at the Aetna.
Wow.
The woman who's transformed the Department of Children's and Families was a perfect example, was a manager for 20 years at Department of Children's and Family, an African-American woman who was a professor at Central Connecticut State University.
Yep.
And I remember asking her, we want you to be our commissioner. And she goes, are you sure? But know what? She is the best thing that's ever happened to that agency in a long time. So for us, we have to know our strength. We have to know when it's our time. And when it's our time, we need to do what is possible so we're in the positions to make the change. That's the beauty of public service. I'm humbled every day that I'm able to serve the over 3 million people here in the state of Connecticut. And I'm more humbled the fact that I have a governor who's from Greenwich, Connecticut, who looked at a kid from Hartford, Connecticut and said, I want you to be side by side and help me run the state of Connecticut.
So that's the rosy side of your job, right? And that's the fun, feel good side of your job. And this is two parts. So when we come back, maybe we can ask you the second part of the question, stepping away from Connecticut and really being a part of, as you said, your fraternity, sorority group of other colleagues in your position. What are some of the challenges? Being the first, right? Black, like we did with President Obama. Many of the Black and brown people, they come to you and they like, fix it and fix it now. How are you able to, and let's couch this into the COVID, the pandemic, right? What have been some of the challenges just responding to your constituents on behalf of the governor, especially Black folk?
Yeah, no, like I said, I started off by saying I help represent on behalf of the governor over 3 million people. I have to look out for every person the same way, no matter what community they're from. They're all our constituents. And I think one of the hardest parts especially during the pandemic, was the disparities that have long faced our nation and long faced states was not only up in our face and prevalent, it was pushing up against us. And the hard part was, because we had no idea what we were dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic. And at the time, as you know, who was in the White House, we weren't getting much leadership at all. States had to figure out on their own, but the problem is we're limited in our resources and our bandwidth to do that. And so one of the hardest parts for me, it was looking at members of the communities that I know very well, and looking at them and saying, I need you to trust us that we'll be able to get through this. While also at the same time going back to my office, trying to figure out what is our game plan to be able to get through this.
Well, one of the comments or statements that you said that actually hits home for me, and I love it, and then we're going to take a quick break. I guess your response to the COVID-19 pandemic, it was, I always tell people I don't work in politics, I work in public service.
Yeah.
Love it. And could you elaborate on that before we go?
I think because of the 24-hour news cycle, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok now, all these things, people have lost what our daily civics lessons are actually disruptive. It is.
It's a war out there, Paul.
So I have to remind people, I got into this role not because of politics, which is basically one person lose, one person wins. I got in this position to serve all. And so if you're in the position to serve all, you come to the role in a different manner. And I come to the role where I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're a Democrat, independent, what town you live in. I know I need to serve the best of you and the best of this community. So when we approached our COVID-19 response, I got my whole team together and I told them this directly. We are making our decisions based upon facts, figures, and public health. We are not going to make our decisions about what's best for us politically. And I think now you look and see, okay, what has come about from that? We are the most vaccinated state of adults in any state in the nation. We have the lowest rate of daily COVID than any other state in the nation.
Yeah, Connecticut did good. Y'all wouldn't open up for a long time.
No, well, here's the thing. We kept a lot of our economy open, even during the pandemic, because we got the best and the brightest and utilized all of Connecticut, not just the some of Connecticut, to provide and bring about the right way to go about this. We call it Team Connecticut. I say to people, do you want to be a part of this team? That's why I got football helmets behind me. And I tell people directly, I'm about team, not about individuals.
Well, I shared that success, that interview with Governor Ned Lamont, Connecticut's state governor. An interview he had, I don't know which major network it was, but he was just talking about the success, that we have here in Connecticut. And I reshared it. And I got to tell you, folks have been eating me alive. Anti-vaxxers, folks who do believe in the vaccine, but just they're like, why are we going this route? Why is government controlling us? And so maybe when we come back from our break, maybe you can enlighten.
Welcome back to the Takeover with your girl, Shay McCray. And of course, you already know we are inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee, but we have a guest, and this guest is an amazing guy. And if you guys just now tune in, he is Paul Mounds, okay, the first
Paul Mounds.
Look,
it's that New York and Atlanta. Look, it's that New York and Atlanta twang thing going on here.
I'm actually saying Mounds, but it's a Mons. I don't know. It just comes out that way. However, he is the first African-American chief of staff in the state of Connecticut. So Indeed. That is a blessing in itself. But before we went to break, you were asking an amazing question. So we have to get to that.
Yeah. So just, for those who are just tuning in, we were talking about the success that the state of Connecticut has had around vaccinating, its residents, the educational campaigns, et cetera, et cetera. But then the flip hand side, you have a bunch of folk who are not happy about what's happening here. And so Governor Lamont, Ned Lamont, governor of the state of Connecticut, was on a major TV network just a few days ago talking about the success here in Connecticut. And I reshared it on my IG page. Shay says I only have 5 people that follow me, so make sure y'all follow me, _BLMJ_. And I reshared that interview. And quite a few people responded, and it was a mixed review. Some people were extremely pissed off, quite frankly, that people, had a choice. You either get vaccinated or you be fired from your job. And I know that's happened in the state of New York and a couple other places. Paul, can you talk a little bit about why the hard sort of drawing that line in the sand? Like,
yes, and let me add to that. Not only that, these people took us through a pandemic. I'm talking about the healthcare providers. They took us through a pandemic, being tested weekly to make sure that the safety of theirs and their families and the people in the hospital that was being more safe. Okay, now all of a sudden they're mandated to take a vaccination. Yeah, I think that's where the confusion comes in at this point.
Yeah, no, I think they're both great questions. So I'll just talk about here in Connecticut. We have put forth an order that if you're in the healthcare sector, for the overall safety of that ecosystem and the people within it, whether it's nursing homes, whether it's patients in hospitals, that we're asking for the employees to be vaccinated, or their employer can say, okay, we will have to separate from you. On the state employee side, we have asked for those who are in the non-healthcare sectors of state employees that you can either be vaccinated or opt to test out every week that you're testing out negative. We are, in the state of Connecticut, we have close to 80% of our state employees who have been vaccinated. We have the rest of the group are going to be testing out every week. And I actually expect that we're probably going to see that test out group change to vaccinated. And the question becomes why? And so the why is, we want to keep people healthy. We want to keep the ecosystem healthy. We want to keep our economy going. What we have seen, not only in Connecticut, but across the nation, is that vaccines are working. They are working to minimize deaths and minimize hospitalization. It allows us to keep our kids in schools. It has allowed us to keep our normal and bring it back to normal. So no, I can understand from an individual say, I want to exercise my individual right. But at the same time, as we've seen with President Biden, who has put forth through OSHA, and those guidance should be coming out soon, that it's a workplace hazard situation now. So we feel, and we very much believe in what President Biden has put forth, and we're actually happy that they're mimicking what we have put forth in Connecticut even before that OSHA order.
But wasn't it a work hazard environment during the pandemic when these healthcare providers was in the midst of it, and they and being tested weekly worked for them? What changed?
I think what changed is we have now viable working vaccines that are working, and they are working very well. And I think when you look, all you gotta do is look at the correlation of hospitalizations and deaths in the nation, and compare that to the states that have high vaccination rates. As I said at the beginning of the show, we have the lowest rate of infection, daily infection, in any other state. We're also the highest populated state per adult. Correlation is there.
Quick, so along the same lines, right? So you have people who are opting out of getting the vaccine, and rather they like to go get tested weekly. Who's picking up the cost on that? Who's going to pay for? Because at one point everything was free. It was like get tested, and now it's like insurers or insurance companies are saying no. The
employee has to pay.
Well, yeah, in many cases, the employee will have to pay if they have not been in contact with someone that's infected or are having symptoms themselves. Here in the state of Connecticut, we have state-funded and state-supported testing sites all across the state. For those who want to opt, who have to do those regular testing, they can go there, and the state's picking up the tab.
So is that the same across the country? I mean, are you hearing from your colleagues?
Most states have those various models, but we have decided to focus heavily on public health and safety and the utilization of our COVID-related dollars from the federal government. So we have put those investments in testing and our various protocols.
One more question on the whole COVID pandemic situation. Then I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about our dearest auntie, the Honorable Maxine Waters. Can you tell us, what's been your outreach to the Black community? I know that there's been I don't want to use the word hesitancy, but there's
Mhm.
just been downright like, no, I'm not interested in taking the vaccine. I don't want to. Here's why. What is the state of Connecticut and perhaps even your other colleagues are doing to ensure that Black folk are, number one, being equipped with the information to make the best decision for their family?
I think that's part of the problem, lack of information or
Lack of-
education on it. Yep.
Lack of
Mm.
information, and I think governments, states in particular, were lecturing people.
Yep.
Mm.
We don't like being lectured.
Yep.
We like conversations. So here's what we did in the state. We decided to utilize our funding and create mobile vans. So we will vaccinate you wherever you at. You're at the church, you're at a barbershop. We can set up, we will vaccinate you, we'll have the whole thing. But here's the thing that we also did. We treated it like a canvassing campaign. We got people on the street that looked like the community, who's of the community and know the community, talking to the community. And that's exactly what we did. We would go door to door. We will say, is there any question we can answer? We were coming to them and saying, we'll be happy to answer any question.
But have we made any progress? Have we made any progress?
We've made amazing progress. One of the things in partnerships that we created was with barbershops and hair salons. So I'll give a shout out to State Representative McGee, who has partnered with our administration and our Department of Public Health. And we basically have taken the model of going to barbershops, creating an incentive. You want a free haircut? Great, we'll vaccinate you. We'll educate you about the vaccination. We'll also have food there. We're going to make this a community-based event, and we're not going to lecture you. We're just going to answer any of your questions, and it's working. And now we're basically taking that model and going all across the state of Connecticut. Our next one's going to be in New Britain, Connecticut. We're going to do one out in New London, and we're also going to get down to the shoreline and to our Fairfield County areas. So,
Okay, before we move on, just like the COVID testing is no longer free, eventually will we have to pay for these vaccinations? Will they no longer be available for free? I highly suspect that they will continuously be paid for by the government. Okay.
People.
Okay, good.
So I know you got to get going because you got to continue to run the state of Connecticut. But I really wanted to hear from you just your immediate response on what's happening down in DC.
Yeah.
Kudos, shout out to all of our federal delegation from the state of Connecticut. But Maxine Waters, Representative Maxine Waters, is basically saying, look, I'm ready for you. And she's ready to fight whoever she needs to fight in regards to a battle over potential cuts to housing aid. You all, our listeners, every single week we give an update on the housing crisis, the eviction crisis that is expected to happen. The White House and congressional leaders are considering slashing $300 billion, and housing aid proposed for the Democrats' $3.5 trillion with a T social spending plan, setting up a clash with Representative Maxine Waters and advocates who are vowing to protect the funds. I could probably talk on and on, but Paul, as a chief of staff, you and your Commissioner Selah Mascaro Bruno, doing a great work. How does that impact states on a local level? And from your seat, like, what's your response on that?
Well, I think what you're just saying is the perfect example of people getting to see how civics really work. So everyone knows Maxine Waters, Auntie Maxine, is the chair of a very powerful House committee, the Financial Services Committee. A lot of things go through her committee. So the voice and the role of the chair is very influential. So she and other colleagues from that committee wrote a letter to the Speaker of the House and to the Majority Leader of the Senate, basically being against that. And so when they put that letter out public, they're basically getting across, this is where we stand on the issue. And with her being the chair of a committee writing a letter like that, it will definitely get the eyes and ears of the Biden administration as well as the leadership in Congress. I believe that there's a lot left to be done on this issue, but I'm firmly believing that they're going to come to a place of a compromise, understanding that it's a large omnibus bill, spending bill dealing with various social services. But she's going to try to keep as much of those funding as possible. How it affects our state?
Hold on. Let me tell you what she said. And I quote, "I'm going to fight as hard as I can to keep as much housing as I can in this reconciliation bill." She says it's going to be rough, period.
Well,
she ain't playing with y'all. She's not playing with y'all. And if y'all know she put up a fight, she will win. And I'm here for it, and I will support her.
I'm here for it.
You were going to say something really quickly, and then we'll.
No,
we'll
you're
close
just asking
out.
how it affects states. Obviously, we are watching all of these bills very closely. On my team, we have a director of our DC office who watches every bill that goes on in Congress and how it affects Connecticut, and we utilize our voice to best inform our legislators about what bills and what they would do and how it affect our state. So we'll be watching this bill very closely, but I'm very much of the mindset that with Chairwoman Waters putting that letter out, that the negotiators of the bill will be very conscious of what she wants to get achieved.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on.
It's really
Shay.
scary. Yeah, it's scary because, you think about, those who really need it. And I know it's a lot of people have been stealing from the government based on just being greedy and stuff. But there are people that actually really need it, like seriously. And it's sad. So we'll be definitely following up on that and following that story. And hopefully we can get something going, But let's talk about, before he go, I do want to talk about the release of some of the charges, the people in California, since we're talking about that were convicted of, I guess, the marijuana cases and stuff. I guess they just passed the bill for that, didn't they? And I'm not a politician, but I know politics, but y'all can help me out with that a little bit if y'all don't mind.
Are you talking about those who were convicted of small sort of
yes,
quote unquote crimes or small ounces of marijuana, etc.
Yes.
Their records are cleansed. Yeah. I mean, that's good. I think they're behind the eight ball. The state of Connecticut, we've led the way with respect to addressing equity in our criminal justice system, and it goes a ways back. We're still trying to figure out, how to get equity in every department here in the state of Connecticut. But Shay, it's a great movement that's happening, but it's being greeted with a lot of resistance and fight from the other side, because some people are of the mindset, once you do a crime, you should always be held with that scarlet letter on your chest, and it's like, it's unfair, and meanwhile we're legalizing cannabis, and the same system that put our people in jail for small ounces of X, Y, and Z are now saying we want to the same system that's saying, oh, now we want to benefit from it, right? And again, I know this is like a love fest here, but the state of Connecticut, in terms of the leadership of the governor, the Speaker of the House, under the leadership of this guy here, working with many of my colleagues, we were able to pass a lot of policy that supports not only the legalization of adult use of cannabis or marijuana or weed, however y'all want to describe it,
or Mary Jane,
or Mary Jane, whatever. I do have colleagues though who will push back and be like, it's not none of those, it's cannabis. We were able to do that, but again, we got a long road ahead. We definitely do. But you're right. California, man, they're usually ahead of us, but we beat them this time.
Wasn't they the first to legalize the cannabis?
I think they were. Weren't they?
They weren't far behind Colorado.
Colorado.
Oh, okay, you're right, Colorado. Okay.
And obviously, we had medical marijuana, and now we're going into adult use marijuana, and we recently passed a bill in Connecticut that basically legalized adult use and the proper selling of it. But the one thing for governments that's always been careful of is that innovation moves faster than governments to regulate.
That's true.
So
can you say that again, but in more of a layman's terms? Because I think people misunderstand it. Not because we don't understand, but I just think it differently.
I give you a perfect example. Okay, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We saw that Facebook, they had a huge hearing about all their practices. They're having those hearings,
and they shut down this week. I was like,
there's very few and lack of laws on the technology that they have.
Yep.
So government has to try to catch up, but to catch up, you have to understand and go backwards to understand the actual policy. So marijuana is a perfect example. How can you legalize the adult use in the sale of it, while you're going to still hold people hostage with the scarlet letter for
possession,
being arrested for having a small amount?
Yeah.
So you have to equalize it when you're moving forward. We've done that in the state of Connecticut. Other states are doing it. I'm happy that California is doing that through their judicial system as well. But we can't just look to modernize without fixing the issues of the past.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, because we're lost a little bit. And I thank you for just even getting into the communities and just pushing it and educating a little bit more in regards to the vaccination, because I think, like we said before, it's just a lack of education around it. And we don't, a lot of them don't know, so it's just people that look like us, that work for the community, that is the community, that help to get down to so they can relate. And that's a very important part of it. So yes.
You have to meet people where they are.
Yes.
That's it.
Go ahead and give me your social media so we can go ahead and keep up with your
I was
journey.
like, I don't want nobody following me.
No, I'm
I saw he was private. I was like, okay, here's your first private politician. Here we go.
No,
he's like low key.
As
follow him on Twitter.
Knows, I'm very low key, but my Twitter is a public Twitter. It's at PMounds, and basically it's updates about what we're doing here in the state of Connecticut. You will get the eventual tweet about the San Francisco Giants, my favorite baseball team. And you also get some tweets about UConn football and Trinity College football.
Awesome. How are they doing this year, by the way?
Who? Which one?
UConn.
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Ooh, you put us on blast.
I was just checking. Listen, I was a big fan. At one point, it was winning streak year after year after year. I was like undefeated. Trust me. But
now y'all losing me because I don't know nothing about sports.
We're gonna make a comeback.
You're gonna make a comeback. I know that's right.
We're gonna make a comeback.
Well, thank
Paul,
you so much for joining us today.
Next time we should invite you and your colleagues, and maybe we could have, sort of a larger conversation on what it's like in the day in life of chief of staffs or chiefs of staff across this country. So I'm really excited, and hopefully the invitation is open. All right. So now you've been inside the room-ish. I don't even know what to say, but you know what I'm saying.
How do I get out the room?
Yeah. We'll let you out.
Thank you so much. You guys keep it locked. Don't go nowhere. It's The Takeover. Welcome back to The Takeover with your girl, Shay McCray. And of course, you already know we are inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee. And thank you for bringing Mr. Paul Mounds on Jr. That was amazing, especially to be the first black anything is amazing. So, but one of the key things he said, just grooming the next. And I'm happy I even brought that up about the president, because that's where we fell. We thought we won, but we really failed because we wasn't grooming the next one after him. And everybody like, oh, it'll never happen again. It will happen again.
It will happen.
To groom our men to be in position,
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Yeah. He said an awful lot, and it was just a lot of information that we needed to hear. And I mean, when's the last time you heard from a black chief of staff of, a governor of a state, and it's pretty cool. And we had him here on The Takeover with myself inside the room. And, we'll continue to invite really awesome people back. So I'm excited about it.
Okay. I'm waiting for.
I want the president.
What about our VP? What about the VP?
We reached out to her office, and then the president assigned her to the wall and some other stuff. And so she's been busy doing that. And I've also seen, though, on social media, folks been getting at her because they like, Madam VP, where
at?
have you been?
Where are you? A lot of people have been saying that.
You know, so
yes.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Make her debut here. Where you at?
Listen,
here I am, for us, by us. You feel me? Nah.
Let's do it. No, seriously.
What other better way to just show that you're for the people by not just launching on the Black network? Why not? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, we're here.
But we're here, not just for the people. We also know we're here for all people, but you know what I'm trying to say. So, especially what's going on with the Haitians right now. So,
oh yeah.
Is
there any juicy anything? I need just a little bit of gossip.
Anything juicy? I do know that after the verdict with your boy R. Kelly, he said he about to start telling.
I did read that. You know what?
What do you think?
Anyway, so I'm not gonna comment on it. I mean, he's an adult, he can do whatever he wants. But I think though, instead of giving him jail time, I heard somebody say he should be receiving some mental health support.
I totally agree.
And the abuse that's been sort of passed on to him, he's doing what he knows to do. And it's sickening. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for him, but I'm hoping that when he serves his time, he's able to receive the help needed to restore himself. So it's a sad situation, man. I tell you,
it is,
and I feel for the victims. I feel for Robert Kelly,
because he's a victim
really
too.
He is.
I believe
indeed.
He is. It's just my opinion, you know. But I do want to close out on this. Have you seen the special with Dave Chappelle? You seen the Netflix?
No, I haven't, but I did see some things on Instagram. Okay.
Well, it's called The Closer, and apparently, based on the statement, he opened up with talked about how they tried to cancel the baby based on a comment that he made about
the LGBTQ.
But here's the thing: what people fail to realize, in the LGBT community, told me this. They brought it to my attention. He never said the gays that's out there sucking dun dun dun. He said if you not out there sucking put your lighters up. So they made it a homophobic statement, and it was not first. So that made me give a different look at it. But now the National Black Justice Coalition is asking Netflix to pull Dave Chappelle's The Closer special over comments deemed transphobic. But what he said was, y'all mad at this man for saying this, but did you know he killed a man at Walmart?
Who?
The baby.
No. He killed a man?
Uh-huh.
Like with a gun or a car?
Yeah, it was self-defense. I don't have that information with me right now, but that was the statement that he made. So he's oh my goodness, it's crazy how we could put all this together. I don't know, it's just I saw the special. I'm not gonna lie, I did.
I'm gonna watch it.
He's funny, and I get what he's saying. He's saying y'all mad at a man for making a comment, but not mad for killing a man.
But here's where I'm taking issue with all of this. There is a thing called freedom of speech. We should be able to, whether we agree or disagree, speak our minds and be able to have some discourse without all of the drama. But I guess that's what makes money, I guess
so. Go ahead and check it out. All right, I just want to leave on that note.
I am. I need to figure out who this man killed. Like, I want to know what's going on.
It's crazy, but I mean, in a sense, a gay man brought it to my attention. He said he never said gay men. He never said the gays. If you're gay and you're doing this, he said no. If you're out, that's what he said.
And people associated it with the gay community.
With that immediately.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
He could have been talking about women.
Hello. Hello. Well, anyway, I just want to thank everybody for joining us yet another Monday here on The Takeover, Inside the Room with myself, State Representative Brandon McGee. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, and join our Facebook group. Inside the Room with State Representative Brandon McGee, where we share information, and you can drop us some topics that you want us to, invite a guest to talk about, or Shay and I can talk about it. But I have been enjoying myself thoroughly, and as always,
that's good to know.
I'm sure you're gonna be flying somewhere.
Not anytime soon, maybe in another 2 weeks, but right now I'm gonna stay put. Thank you guys for tuning in. Y'all already know, go follow us, Official FUBU Radio, on Instagram, and go like our Facebook page, that is FUBU
And download
Radio,
that app.
and download the FUBU Radio app. Okay, it's free. You can't beat that. It's free. All right, and go follow me, Shay McCray, ShaymCCRAY. And as always, we appreciate your support, your reshares, and just for tuning in. All right, so with that being said, you already know the vibes. It's the FUBU Radio, baby.